Matt and I just got through eating supper. We had a really simple supper tonight. We just had a BLT and pork and beans, and I had some of Corey's wonderful cake and some peach ice cream for dessert. I don't think you had any dessert, did you, Matt?
I didn't know there was any. Apparently you had that hid.
I did not have it hid.
So
we've been eating on it for 3 days. I figured you knew where it's at.
So there's dessert?
There's dessert. You're going back for dessert? We tried to come out earlier today and do some work in the garden. It was so hot. It was just way too hot and too miserable. So we decided we'd wait till after supper. And we're not going to do much, but this area right here, my flowers mostly are kind of behind me this way, and then this big gum you can see behind Matt. We never did get to weed them this year, so that's just, I didn't keep them tidy like I usually do because of all the things we've had going on. So there's a tree, I see a walnut tree growing up through the middle of them. I think Matt cut it down one time, but it come back. But the rest of it we've just let. It's weeds, it's overgrown flowers. It's just a huge mess. And then right here in the front, we still have some of our carrots, which Matt's started harvesting. We're going to pull up the rest of the carrots. And there's some zinnias that probably could be cut back. We've already pulled up all the bush beans that were here, and some to eat and some to save for seed. Our Yance beans we're saving for seed for next year. And then we're going to hoe up this place, and we've got some onion buttons, and we're going to plant some onions just to use as green onions. We'll eat them pretty quick once they start growing. But if we could get this little area done this evening, we'd both really feel good about it. So this is only the second year that we've ever managed to grow carrots, and these probably should have already been harvested, but we've just been harvesting them as we eat them. But we're going to go ahead and get the rest of them, and there's not that many of them. We'll just store them in the refrigerator until we're ready to eat them. Looks like some pretty big ones though. Pretty nice carrots, Matt. The only thing we did different last year and this year that we were finally able to grow them that I can think of is that we started the seeds way earlier, like at the end of, I don't know, we planted them in March, I guess, didn't we, Matt? Early March, late February?
I don't remember.
Planted them really early. I read somewhere or seen on a video or something that someone said that's what they started doing, and then they finally could grow carrots. Well, apparently that's what we needed to do too. Matt got all the carrots pulled up, so now we can move on to the weeds. Here's one little clump of zinnias still blooming. I'm not sure if I planted these this year or if they reseeded themselves from last year. I see another tree back there in the back. That's not a walnut tree. I'm not sure what kind of tree that is. Almost looks like an apple or a pear tree or something, but it needs to come out. Back there in the back is a poplar tree. That's just on the bank, and that's an ongoing battle we've had ever since we've lived here. The bank grows up and we cut it back, and it grows up and we cut it back. Unlike the bank behind our house where the raised beds are now, that's steep going straight up. This one is steep going straight down. But so that's just a poplar tree that's come up on the side of the bank. It needs to be cut back too, but it's not necessarily in the flowers. Here's the other tree I was talking about. Needs to be cut down, cut back. This is looking at the flower bed from the other side. You can see what a jungle it is. There are flowers mixed in, but mostly it's just weeds. But Matt's gonna help me, and we're gonna tame it back to where it should be. So you can see how the weeds have just completely taken over. There's a flower trying to grow, but it's being overshadowed by all the grass. There are a few things still blooming. This is really pretty. I wish you could smell it. It smells wonderful. This is what we call phlox. It just grows wild. And over the years, I've just let it take over and grow where it will because I love it so much. It has kind of a spicy, sweet scent. And there's a few different shades of it. You can see that's a much lighter shade there. Right behind it, we have growing Queen of the Meadow, Queen of the Medder, as some people call it, or Joe Pye weed. Again, just growing wild. They surround our house. Much better. Really hot though, ain't you, Matt? Burning up, but my goodness, how much better it looks. Looks so much more open and breathable. We left a few of the blooms of the phlox and the zinnias. Had some kale hiding in there, so we got the kale out in the open now. Left these zinnias up here in the front, although we probably should just cut them down, but they're just so pretty I can't hardly do it. But now Matt's gonna make us, oh, Matt can. He says he ain't got no problem doing that. Now we're gonna make us some rows and plant some onions. Before we plant the onions, we're gonna plant a beautiful rose, green romanica, I think's the name of it. A sweet subscriber sent it to me and Matt in honor of Miss Cindy's passing. And then another sweet subscriber sent us that, what do you call that, Matt? A arch trellis type thing. It's beautiful too. And we're going to plant the rose and then put that over top of it, hoping that the rose will wind its way up around it. I think that'll be nice.
Very nice, very pretty.
Are you against the tree?
Yeah.
You want to move?
No.
We deserve a popsicle tonight. I think I'm hotter today than I was Saturday or Friday or whatever day. Last time we worked in the yard. I guess that was, it is hotter today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hot.
We had that nice breeze that day. The cold feels good. Oh, we forgot to. I'm so glad to have that chore done. That garden bed, that flower bed's been haunting me all year. There was a walnut tree in it, some other kind of tree, looked like a pear or apple, I don't know what it was.
Two little oak trees.
And then Matt found two little oak trees in it while we were cleaning out. Shows how fast nature takes back over. It don't take it long. Matt and Katie like to watch these abandoned house shows where they're going in and looking at old houses that have been abandoned and people have left all their stuff in them. But it's amazing how the trees grow right up to the side of the siding or reaching inside, or vines are reaching inside or whatever.
And limbs and vines, they'll get in behind the siding and grow up behind it.
Mm-hmm.
The shows are interesting just to see what people left behind, you know, old stuff. A lot of them houses are just completely full of everything that it's just like they walked out.
Just
you know?
left, yeah.
It's cool. Me and Katie's kind of hooked on them.
Matt was watching one a few weeks ago, And they always just show the stuff sitting around. The ones that Matt and Katie watch, they say that they don't bother, they don't take anything or anything like that. They just look at it and leave. Anyway, but it was neat that they started describing some. Was it a hat or what was it they showed?
It was 2 hats.
2 hats
on the bed.
From Canton, where Matt grew up.
Yeah, it was a house that had ended up being a place where they deer hunted out of, like the land that they deer hunted on had an old home place on it, and they made a deer camp out of it. And they went in there, and there's a bunch of stuff in there, and a couple of them hats was out from where I was from. The logos on the hats were from that town. That was kind of funny. Yeah.
Made Matt wonder if maybe he knew the people, or at least knew somebody that did know them.
Probably either knew them or knew some of their people. Probably, most likely did, some of their family.
Probably. When we were cleaning all that stuff off, I was thinking about, we've had a few questions. People want to know if we compost all that stuff. Sometimes when we cut stuff back, we do add it to our compost, and then other times, like today, it's just so tempting and easy to throw it off the bank, so we threw it all off the bank. Now, when it comes to compost, me and Matt are not, like, you can get so scientific, and you can, get really deep into all of it, and it's wonderful, great, but we don't do that. We just throw it all in a pile. Got birds over top of us. We just got to throw it all in a pile, and then we have all of our chicken, the stuff that comes out of the chicken lot. So we don't do anything special. We're not, in other words, we're not the people to tell you how to compost at all. But sometimes we do put cuttings in our compost, and other times we just, like today, we just throw them all off the bank. So
I don't have the patience to get that scientific about it. I'm too busy.
Yeah,
and
mostly we pile up our chicken stuff, and then we pile stuff on top of it, whether it's leaves or whatever we're cleaning out. Of course, they say stuff like if you've got disease stuff, you're not supposed to put that in there. There's all kinds of rules and regulations, as Matt would say. But there are lots of people out there that really do know what they're doing, so you could find one of them for sure and watch them. Or look up a blog article or get a book or something like that. But we're not, we just pile ours into a pile. Miss Cindy had a friend, and he was a great gardener, and he didn't produce very much. He was just one person, so his gardens were not maybe as big as ours. But anyway, the way he looked at it, like if he had banana peels or something from inside the house, potato peelings, anything like that, he would just immediately, I guess he would save them for a day or two or whatever, and then he would just immediately take them out into his garden bed and dig a hole and put them in it and cover it back up. I think there's a term for that, what that's called. I can't remember. Anyway, and then it just decomposes right there in the garden and enriches the soil. I've done that before. This is my method. In this, I know he's going to say that. In the winter, this is my method of doing that. Sometimes when I'm too lazy, like to go all the way to the compost, I bring it to one of the beds and just throw it down. I don't bury it. I just throw it. And then Matt gets aggravated at me because it leaves a mess.
Yeah, and in the spring when I'm hoeing or tilling or whatever, there it is. Or I dig down a little bit and get broke eggshells stuck between my fingers.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. So there's all different manners of it, though. You do see the people, like some people when they plant their tomatoes, put a fish under it or something for enriching the soil. Anyway, there's all kinds of different ways to do it, for sure.
I put all them fish we caught the other day in the garden right there and buried them. Something dug them up the first night.
Mm-hmm. Probably raccoon or a rat or something.
Probably a coon. This place packed with coons.
Mm-hmm. Lots of coons here. I'll tell you a really funny story about a coon. When Granny grew up here in Cherokee County too, but she was more of she didn't live in town or anything, but somehow she just was not exposed to the woods and stuff like, of course, Pap was. So when she first her and Pap first moved up here, they were married. When they were first married, they lived in Murphy in a little apartment, 2 or 3 different places in Murphy. Then they lived in Martins Creek when they had me, and had all of us. Steve was in Murphy, and then me and Paul was in Martins Creek, and then they built the house that I grew up in. I was about 5 years old when we moved into it. Anyway, when they moved into that house, there was only 2 houses at that time in Wilson Holler. There was my Mama Marie and Papa Wade's house, and then their house. And so it was more remote even than it is today. It's not very remote today, and there's lots more houses. Anyway, lots of people would just throw their scraps outside, like from leftovers from dinner or supper or breakfast or whatever. And so quickly a raccoon come and started eating her scraps that she threw out. Well, one day when she was throwing them out, she seen the raccoon, and she didn't know what it was, so she called my Mama Marie and said, Marie, I'm worried there's an animal. This is so funny. This is so typical Granny too. I'm so worried there's an animal in the backyard eating my scraps. And Marie's Mama, of course, said, well, what is it, Luzine? And she said, I don't know, but it's wearing a mask. That's so funny.
How did she not know what a coon was?
I don't know. It was funny.
Yeah.
That's a good Granny story.
Mm-hmm.
So Mama Marie taught her about raccoons. Coons, we call them. And she taught her a lot of other things too, about all kinds of things. Granny really loved her, really loved Pap's mother. Have you already eaten your popsicle?
Yeah.
I'm getting really slow.
I was needing something cold in me. I'm burnt alive.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I can't wait till it gets cold. These kind of days will make you wish for it. I already see acorns on the ground back there in the back corner back there where the squirrels are cutting them out.
Yeah. The cool weather that me and Matt were talking about in our video a few days ago is gone. Totally gone.
Well, it wasn't really all that
Well,
cool.
it was cooler, though, in the mornings. In the 50s, that's cooler when you've been in the 60s. But it's gone.
Yeah, this week's supposed to be brutal all week long.
So, but hopefully this will be the last really, really hot weather.
No.
Maybe.
No.
Maybe. Maybe.
September's always hot.
Yeah, but we'll have some coolness at night, in the mornings. It's peaceful this evening.
Yep.
Mostly I'm just glad we got the onions planted and got that mess cleaned up.
Yeah, it looks a whole lot better. I ain't worried about getting rattlesnake bit when I get out of the truck now.
Yeah, no, it was getting pretty snaky. Pretty weedy and snaky. Trees growing in it.
One of the biggest copperheads I ever seen come right out of there.
Did it?
Yep. Years and years ago. It was, I don't know how big it was, but it was the biggest one I've ever seen. And I've seen a bunch of them.
Yeah. It's another thing that folks ask us a lot if we see snakes often when we're in the garden. We don't. We see like little earth snakes, but we don't really see a lot of snakes. And the ones we have to worry about are the copperheads and rattlesnakes. That's the 2 poisonous ones here. And thankfully, we don't see them all the time.
They're here. We just don't see them.
You just don't see them. It seems like some years you see several, and in the other years you don't see any. Seems like it goes like that.
Say you go down there and roll one of them in the wood pile and roll one of them pieces of stove wood up and probably find one.
Probably. Why don't you go down there and do that?
I would, but I got stuff to do.
I'm just teasing.
I caught a copperhead when I was young. Caught it alive and brought it home, and my daddy about had a conniption.
I'm sure.
He did not like that.
I'm sure. Dangerous.
Of course, I didn't reach and grab it and wasn't carrying it or nothing. It was in the cold part of the year, and somehow or another there was some grading being done across the creek from our house. And I don't know if they dug it up. I don't know what they done, but it was laying there trying to lay in the sun, but it's cold. And I saw it, and I run back to the house and got a bucket, and went back down there and got me a stick and raked it over in the 5-gallon bucket and carried it up to the house. I was kind of excited.
Proud of it.
Proud of it to show Daddy, and he got mad. He said, them things hurt you. Don't you ever do that again.
Yeah.
And I knew they would. I mean, I wasn't doing something I didn't know. I just thought it was kind of cool to be that close to one of them, but he got mad. Of course, I guess I would too.
Yeah. Corey and Katie inherited Matt's love of things like that and animals. And they brought home all kinds of stuff over the years. One time we were outside. It was kind of cold, and I don't know what we were doing, but we was all outside working, and they were just playing all over the place. And they were playing at the woodpile, and it was cold enough that they had on big heavy like sweatshirts and a toboggan on. And anyway, they come running to tell me, "Look, Mama! Look, Mama! Look, Mama!" And in their hands, they found like baby mice over there. They'd uncovered pushing logs over, and they had a bunch of little tiny baby mice. I was like, "Put them back, take them and put them back wherever you got them from." They always like the creepy crawly.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, this morning Katie had a frog, so she showed me the frog.
Yeah. He ain't never got over it, have we?
No. Well, you want to just keep working?
No.
Me neither. I'm done. I'm ready to go in. It's exciting though. Of course, the onions, we can eat on them if they should do good. And we can eat on them the next few months. We'll just eat on them like they're green onions, pull them up when they're fairly young. But exciting to get the rose bush planted and the nice trellis arch over them so that we can enjoy that next year. And be a beautiful addition to our garden, and we can think of Miss Cindy and think of the nice people who sent it to us, and so that'll be lovely.
You will.
And hopefully next year the flower bed down there won't get such a mess.
Yeah, I hope not. Maybe we won't be so distracted in the spring and be able to work in it a little more.
And hopefully this fall we can do a lot of stuff like that, preparing for next year.
In between deer hunts.
Yeah, in between deer hunts and jury duty. Anyway, yes, in between all that, we can start working in the garden like in January. Of course, I'm going to get a lot of snow this year, so we may have to work around that.
January, you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be doing that by yourself. We ain't never done that in January.
We always have. We've
In
always
January?
done some stuff. No, we can this year because you're not working. You're working with me.
Yeah, but it's still January.
Yeah, but you can be doing infrastructure stuff, see?
The ground will be hard as a brick.
Infrastructure stuff, see?
Like what?
I mean, building stuff. New beds, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Well, thank you for visiting with us while we got our onions planted and got our messiest flower bed cleaned out for the first time this year. Should have already been done long ago. I usually do it in the spring and then in the summer, and it never even got done after the daffodils were finished blooming. So it feels really good to get it done. And we're always thankful when you stop by to help us celebrate Appalachia. It's a pretty evening.
Yep.
Still. Probably need to go down there and water the rose bush. The onions will be alright.
You can just water it from a bucket, can't you?
Yeah.
It's
get some.
Instead of stretching the hose out.
Yeah, let's get some in a bucket. Strawberries are growing into the ground and the stuff around them, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. What time are we going over in the morning?
I told her we'd try to be there at 8 o'clock.
What we got to take?
I don't think anything. I was going to take her the
Okay,
rest of
what's
those onions. No, I don't think so. I mean, unless you can think of something.
I don't know what we're doing.
We're just going to help her clean out a little bit and plant her stuff, her fall stuff. So I don't think we need nothing.
Okay.
You ready to go in?
Whenever you are,
I'm
lady.
ready. I'm ready. I'm tired.